Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in... Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Lini explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage.
Thank you, Mr. Lini. In that case, I take your statement to be you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick...
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina.
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Lini is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact...
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask...
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe...
Huh?
Hey! Hang on! Something's not right.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the house?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably...
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Lini! Why didn't you tell us...
Order! Order! Mr. Lini, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, Are these claims true? Please answer my question, Mr. Lini.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as...
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is...
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in...
So you would stick to Mr. Lini's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I... In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, sorry. Ugh. Paimon doesn't know where to start. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't, not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad!
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if but our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different—
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's hear your answer first, and no lies now!
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which—
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice, which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time. After that, the homicide occurred just—
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crime.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it, the whole truth. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mystery, but like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against— If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a Huh? Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Lini acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now, at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Lini's perspective. Countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which he did not realize that the sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Lini. So Lini proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Lini passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating... And there you have it. That's the truth behind...
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What Lini experienced... Seems this won't produce a particular... Seems that... Seems... Seems this won't... Seem... According to Lini, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. Lini went to the room that contains the oratrice's Lini did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed...
I Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Lini did indeed go into the... But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which, once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been... And the crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again. And in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was what... Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to save...
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing.
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup? Assuming that what you say is true, Lini only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case.
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your... Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time... You're saying that he wasn't?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? Wasn't in the box. This means that when the crime happened, Lini had the same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof. How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lini who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Could there have been a third person involved? The deceased's name is Cowell, Lini's assistant. Could there have been a third... The deceased's name is Cowell.
happy, right? Are you serious? The killer was, in fact,
Oh, is that so? How in—
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator. Lini was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Lini as well. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. The sound we heard may have come from... The deceased's name is... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been... The sound we heard may have come from... It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Lini. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. So where would the criminal... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. The sound we heard may have come from a... The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. So where would the criminal have wanted to take Halsey? The deceased's name is... It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. The deceased's name is Cow. The sound we heard may have... Halsey's clothing was in...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
I see how it is. So this was all—
Look, since we're at a dead end, why, just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must...
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them... And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did...
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient?
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lini was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing... The deceased's name is Cowell, Lini's assistant. The vase was not broken by chance.
Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method...
Oh, just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings.
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it,
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the...
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are...
the primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appeared. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact...
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence.
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water? Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two...
Mademoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal... Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that... Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Lini, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues...
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make... Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial...
The deceased's name is... The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick, but was instead some form... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. Did she I remember there was something else with... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire... The rope that held the water tank... The water from the primordial sea should already have... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. Now it seems like the...
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowl would tamper with the water tank rope, and the number selector, when the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the afterward, Cowl would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel. With the remaining but he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to...
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other, and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Lini's personal effects.
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, how wonderfully comedic to have your own counter. Does this not clear all doubt, my dear citizens, my loyal audience? Lini did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowl, but upon his return, in cruel avarice, Lini desired sole credit and ultimately, he knocked Cowl out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up also became a Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, Am I right, Mr. Lini?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us. Is this the end of the road?
Oh no! Paimon can't think of it. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move.
I think we've all seen enough now, and we have ample witnesses to my flawless reason. I believe this is indeed the finale. Now then, my good, noble Chief Justice, should we not...
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to...
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back... What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth, but once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Lini and Lynette, give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rasula, but as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the final performance.
I understand.
And voila! Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So,
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it...
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry.
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Lini's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And but I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. So you were the thief. Lini even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was onto me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then I wasn't going to take that lying down. There was nowhere to run from there, though. So I had to change my clothes and hide in a box. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian. Seems... The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lillian's attempt to break out when she was The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but it was smashed during the struggle Lillian was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid.
And it's Ace Detective Paimon! Having been selected out of the blue, Lillian panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian... He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume. That she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave.
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about At
this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel...
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Bravo! Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to speak? Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended.
What, are you reading my mind now? No, I have no further arguments. I admit defeat.
Wow, look at that! She's like...
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once... The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young... To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which he also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian, thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box. And thus, Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before As for Lini, he was in the underground structures within the opera house. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Lini, the accused... While there is much in Lini and Lillian's conduct that should still be... This case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision. As such, Lini and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
Victory for Ace Detective Paimon!
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation. How did you find the water from the primordial sea?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake,
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Lini. I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Koopa...
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Lini, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability. Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know and see...
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to... It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable... We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the...
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's true, but...
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Lini...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you'd... But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a I guess. But regardless, I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Lini this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatous, It's because the goals of the House of the Heart, that was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, back when our parents first died, Lynette, to survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our side and we could... But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would...
That doesn't seem too bad either.
It took a while for me to realize just how after one particular performance at a banquet, I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your
Oh no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. But by the time I leaped over the walls, avoided the guards, and made my way in, all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood. And the knave...
So, she'd already taken care of that guy.
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several the knave, might have seen something in me, and so the House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. I was hesitant to trust her. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans...
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. Everyone at Hotel Bouffe d'été, including the knave, has their roots in Fontaine. And we will always, to us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis...
It's all right. I understand. The only thing I can do is relate all this to you. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions, and that I believe what I'm doing is right. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me. I will do my best